What does it mean to reconstruct a tragedy? What does it mean for an individual? What does it mean for a family? What does it mean for a community to reconstruct a traumatic event? Is reconstructing a kind of intimate archaeology, going back to the ground zero of what happened and dissect and divide somehow the elements of the naufrage, the shipwreck? Or is reconstructing, rather than that, the fact of reconstructing ourselves, telling ourselves or others the story in a different way, in a metaphoric way, in a fictional way? Or is both? Is mixing the possibility of recovering a story, documenting a story, and at the same time creating something new, changing narratives. In 2017, I was invited in the Museum of Memory in Buenos Aires, that used to be the most important concentration camp of the Americas during the 70s, where most of the abhorrent crimes against humanity were committed. That space became the Museum of Memory, and they invited 8 artists to be there and reside during a couple of months, and then to produce a piece of work. And I decided to construct a model of my city, a model of the city of La Plata, where a crime against my family happened during the 70s. And through the act of reconstruction there, I started presenting to people who had disappeared in that place and reappeared, people who had lived many traumatic experiences in Argentina and South America. And for the first time, I realized something that I always think as an actor, that is, every personal story is at the same time a collective story. The project was invited to go to Paris in 2019. And by presenting this model of my city, I started talking to people in France who were saying, we've just lived the terrorist attacks. So the question that you are doing about how through art we can reply and we can go to meet the invisible wound, imagining new strategies to talk about that and to communicate with an audience, were there. So there I started to create what I do today, that is what I call the Intimate Maquettes Lab, a laboratory where people, having lived a traumatic experience, recreate a new narrative about a lived experience, a personal and a collective experience, through the fact of creating 3-dimensional, tiny, theatrical experiments and expressions, audiovisual and narrative expressions. More than 30 labs have been done since, with different topics. First, the terrorist attacks in France, people who had lived Charlie Hebdo, Bataclan, Nice, mixed with artists, together coming from war experiences or displacement experiences. Since then, 30 laboratories, more or less, have been done. So the thesis that I'm developing now is recovering all this project to decompose that, to create a model where different artists in different languages and different countries can use a prototype of how through arts we can develop a device to go and meet different territories and traumatic experiences in order to create new narratives in their own cultures and in their own countries. So that's the project that I'm developing now.